Dan, RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. What if you use law of attraction on somebody that you didn't mean to? What if you used law of attraction in a place that you didn't mean to? Or what if you were thinking about something and you were kind of putting energy towards it and you didn't mean to? What happens? Well, it's a question that was asked to me. It's actually asked a bunch to a lot of us. And it's kind of funny is, first off, there's kind of a component of law of attraction that I think is a bit misunderstood with a lot of people, which is that law of attraction is only in process when we try to use it, right? Law of attraction is only happening when we are making an effort to do a technique and then intentionally, consciously trying to create an outcome. Otherwise, law of attraction is not turned on. That's actually not true. That's completely false. And it's a false thought that a lot of people have. Law of attraction is constantly at work in our lives, constantly. Whenever we think or do or say anything, we're putting power towards it. Whenever we hold beliefs of any truth, like it's something inside of us that we feel very strongly is how things are, that's affecting what we're manifesting and how we're manifesting. So constantly, we are using law of attraction, like it or not, meaning to or not, we are constantly using law of attraction to create outcomes in our lives. It's an abundant universe that is constantly showering us with abundance. Constantly. Everything that happens to us is our manifestation. Now, there's a lot of people that are like, well, I'm not saying it's you pushed out. We're not having that debate here. Like, all the bad things in the world, is it because it's me pushed out? No, I'm not having that debate. But what you experience in your life, what happens to you directly, what you experience from others around you, from your family members, from the person at the coffee shop, from the gas station to whatever, the police officer that maybe stopped and said hi or told you to move along or whatever, right? All of these interactions we have are brought to us in an attractive way, abundantly manifested towards us, always. So, that being said, we are, from time to time, going to entertain thoughts that are not something that we wish to experience. I will say, and I don't want to get too specific because every time I talk about it, I create it in my life, and that's one of the joys of being someone that is trying to talk about law of attraction. You've got to be a little careful about the things that you put energy towards, even in videos. And if I'm too terribly specific about a lot of stuff, and that's why sometimes I don't get too heavily into my own personal things, because I'm not trying to manifest more of these inadequacies maybe that I've been experiencing, or not trying to manifest more of these goofy little things that show up in my life. But one thing that was kind of funny is a good example, and it's not me, so it helps. But someone was talking about I talk about beach balls a lot. That's one of my favorite little, it was my first real manifestation proof, if you will. It was the first thing I tried to manifest, and I was in a book I read eons ago, and it's like, all right, so that's all you got to do. So then I did some efforts, maybe did it once or twice, and then kind of let it go. I mean, it wasn't one of those things where I was so determined to make this beach ball show up in my life. But literally, it was like a day later or whatever, and I'm driving to my job, and it was probably, 5 miles away or whatever the heck, and barely even past, leaving my house, right on the curb in the gutter was a deflated beach ball. And I just started laughing. I'm like, there's my beach ball. I got chills and the whole 9 yards, and then I realized, wow, got my beach ball. Well, someone commented the other day, and they're like, I see beach balls everywhere now because of you. Thanks, Dan. And that's true. And that's kind of how that happens. So, whatever we put energy and power towards, we're definitely abundantly bringing it towards us. Now, what happens when you attract something that you didn't want to or didn't mean to? This can come in a few ways. We'll talk about people, and we'll kind of end it with the people part of it, because I think that's kind of fun. And I've definitely experienced that. I've played around with that, and I've had plenty of oopses when it comes to that. And so that's a fun part of the topic too. But what about when we manifest other things into our lives? We keep focusing maybe on how there's something that needs to be repaired, and we keep focusing on it and keep focusing on it. And because of that, it almost seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Or maybe we're trying to lose weight, and we keep focusing on how we need to lose weight and how we need to lose weight. And we keep focusing on how we need to lose weight. And we don't realize that we're putting energy towards the opposite of what we're trying to do. Rather than maybe accepting the fact that weight's being left off, we keep looking in the mirror and saying, dang, it's not looking any better. So these are times where we're accidentally manifesting something we don't want. Now, a lot of times we don't realize it. That's first thing. We want to try to catch when we're doing this to ourselves, because that's not benefiting us. But at the same time, we're manifesting something that's kind of contrary to what we want. We're putting energy towards something that, well, we didn't mean to. I thought I was helping myself by realizing that I need to keep dieting, but in reality, I started to realize, I'm actually keeping myself fatter. And here's how you deal with it. When I change my thinking about it, so instead of looking in the mirror and going, you need to diet or you need to lose weight, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I'm losing weight. Weight's coming off. It is coming off. It's coming off as quickly as it can. It's coming off in a healthy way. It's coming off. And when we shift our focus towards what we'd like it to be, it helps us undo where we've been putting energy that we didn't mean to. So a lot of us do this. A lot of us maybe have those negative thoughts, right? That negative thought pops into your head, and then you're like, oh no, why am I having this negative thought? This negative thought, get out of my head, negative thought. Ooh, shoo, negative thought, shoo, 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 right? But the problem is by doing all that, you keep the negative thought empowered. You keep it within you. You keep it activated. And so by keeping it activated, it's not going to go away, which is what you want it to do, right? So when we panic about a negative thought, or when we panic about someone said something negative, you're like, oh no, you're gonna infect me. When we do that, we make it worse. So instead, again, focus-based universe. Focus on what you would like to experience. Focus on what you would like to have more of, rather than what you're trying to avoid. Remember, whatever you look at is what you're going to get. An example I use frequently, and it's true, but unfortunately a lot of my audience is female, so it might not be as good an analogy, but it's still a good analogy. But in race car driving, specifically NASCAR, when there's crashes on the track, so they all go around tracks and they're driving at 200 miles an hour or 180 miles, I don't know, ridiculously fast, right? Going around, really, really, really fast. Just circle tracks. Kind of boring. Just turning left, turn left. Hey, up there, turn left, and then turn left again. But sometimes there's pretty horrific crashes. And when there are, cars go all over the place, and smoke is there, and you got debris bouncing around. Pilot, basically they're flying as fast as they're going. What the car driver's job is to do in those cases is you find a hole. You find a place where there are no cars, where you can see there's no cars right now. You find a hole, you look at it, and you punch the gas. And that's what you do. You drive to the hole. Because when you drive to the hole, you will get through the problem. When you focus on where you need to go, the hole, you will get there. When you focus on the obstacles, you run into them. And that's why they focus on the hole. If you focus on the other cars, you will hit them. You focus on where you're trying to go, you'll get there. You'll go through, you'll navigate. You'll somehow get through it by the skin of your teeth. It'll be close, but you'll get through it because you stayed focused on where you're trying to go. Now, people. People are the fun one. People are a blast. So you can use law of attraction, obviously intentionally on people, and there's a lot of us that are trying to do that. Some of us, maybe it's not happening as quickly as we'd like, so of course there's maybe trepidation and whatnot, but for a lot of us, most of us probably, we've probably had many occasions where maybe we thought about someone specifically. Maybe we met them once or twice. Maybe we kind of we were a little infatuated with them. Maybe there was something they did that was super cool. Maybe they impressed us in such a way that we were like, wow, that person's really wonderful. I bet they're awesome. I'd really like to experience them more, or I'd really like to have a relationship with them, or I'd really like to go on a date with them. And so by thinking that thought, we're putting power towards it. And sometimes we end up having experiences with people that are less than admirable. We end up meeting people and then really going on that first date, spending some time with them, and you're like, oh my God, this is one of the most annoying people I've ever met in my life. If I have to sit through a whole nother hour listening to this person drone on about how wonderful they are, I am seriously going to freak out. So sometimes we will put energy towards things. We'll end up in situations because we manifested it, and we might not like it. So we change our minds, and that's fine. Maybe that person's still interested in you. Maybe that person's going to keep maybe pestering you a little bit, but you've already kind of realized, that's not what I want. And so what you do is you stop thinking about them, or you start to think about somebody else. That will kind of get you moving into a new direction. Yeah, you put some energy towards it. That energy's still sitting there, but you have choices. People like to debate whether there's free will or not. And I'm not trying to go down that path right now. I seem to have a different opinion than a lot of people. But without a doubt, I believe if someone's trying to manifest me, for example, and I'm with my girlfriend, I'm not interested. That's not something that's going to happen. So it's not that their technique's not working. It's that my desire to not leave where I'm currently at and being happy where I'm currently at is going to supersede. And so that's kind of how it works. So we all have choices. We all are allowed to do that. Now, one of the places where it can get us in trouble, and this is something to keep in mind, maybe we're interested in somebody specific. We have a specific person, but there's, Johnny over here that I keep thinking about from time to time. He's a nice guy. He's a friend of mine. I've talked to him a couple times maybe about my situation with Roy. But, Johnny's just a friend. But I've been thinking about him lately. We've gone out a couple times. We got drunk one night maybe. A number of things can happen. And, like I said, I was thinking, now all of a sudden I'm entertaining thoughts of maybe being intimate, maybe exploration with each other, right? Like, who knows? And in that process, we start to create circumstances between us and Johnny. And then that's where it can get a little scary. You're like, but I want Roy. Roy's where my heart's at. But I keep thinking about Johnny, but I don't really like Johnny that way. He's not Roy. But I keep thinking about him. What should I do? What happens when I do this? Well, obviously, you're noticing Johnny's probably getting a little more flirty with you, maybe, or maybe Johnny's becoming a little more touchy. Maybe you've noticed he's putting his hand on the small of your back as you walk in the room, like from time to time, like nothing like not putting his arm around you per se, but just, hand on the small of the back, just kind of a weird thing that guys do sometimes, right? Maybe he's doing that. Maybe he's, I don't know, getting kind of close, like kiss distance a little more often just to see what happens. Maybe he's exploring that. Maybe a lot more hugs are occurring. Maybe he's noticing you when you don't realize he's noticing you, checking you out. We have the choice to keep fanning those flames, if you will. We have that option. You can. And that's okay. Again, manifestation, whatever you put power to or focus on is what you're creating energy towards. So if you're worried that maybe this energy you've got with Michael right now is causing a problem with Roy, and it really is. If you're interested in Roy, but you're dividing your energy and spending some of it over with I've already forgotten this gentleman's name. All the names I'm making up along the way. If you're wasting it and spreading your energy and spreading it between two people, then you're going to actually find that it's slowing down your other manifestation. It's dividing your focus. So now you're kind of looking in two angles, and you can't walk down two paths at the same time. So you're going to have differences between it, where you're going to have the friend on the side here, and you're thinking about him, and things are getting closer, and you're actually noticing that you're thinking less and less about Roy. I remember his name. I can't remember the other guy's name. But you keep thinking less and less about Roy and more about this guy. Well, you're going to start to build a relationship with that guy. Well, I don't want to. Well, just like when you have negative thoughts, you need to think about what it is that you would like to experience. And you will begin to undo that energy. Now, granted, what's-his-face may still like you. He may still want to be with you. May still be your friend, may still check you out, may still hug you a lot, but you're sort of backing away that energy. And as you back away that energy, the power of it can start to subside. He's going to maybe start to find interest elsewhere. His feelings, as you pull back a little bit, his feelings will start to diminish because you don't want that, right? So now you're focused somewhere else. You're not putting energy towards it. You're not, basically, it's like putting a pot above the flame, right? When you keep putting energy towards something, keep thinking about it, focusing on it, living in the end, whatever, when it keeps popping up, when it is something that you realize you're walking towards, it's off in the horizon, it's like turning the flame up under a pot that's sitting, on the stove. When you decide, I don't want to keep putting energy towards that, I'm going to start focusing on this instead, it's like turning it down, turning the simmer down, turning it down to simmer, even turning it off sometimes. And when you turn that heat off, when you turn that energy off, that focus off, it starts to diminish. It starts to sort of fall back into the background. And more of what you're focusing on starts to come to the foreground. It can shift. You're not forever stuck with some of these decisions. I guess Michael, maybe that was his name. I don't even know what his name was. But you can always change and go back and start focusing again on Roy, if that's what you'd like to do. Or you can choose to stay with Michael or whoever his name was. Keep going down that path. Keep focusing more on it. But what we put energy towards is what we're getting more of. And if you find that you're putting energy in directions that you don't want to, if you find that you keep accidentally manifesting strange things because you keep having weird, nervous thoughts, scared thoughts. I mean, this is how a lot of times we'll pull in a third party. This is how sometimes we'll get damage to parts of our cars, our lives, our houses, because we're focused on some sort of disarray or how something's not right, or, oh my God, if that keeps happening, some damage is going to occur. Oh no, the kids are playing baseball in front of the house again. Oh, this is what's going to happen. Like when we start entertaining negative events, we start to create negative events. When negative events start to happen, we got to stop for a second and go, what have I been thinking about? What's going on? Where's my focus been? And when we have a moment to stop and look and realize that this is the direction we've been moving ourselves, that we have been doing thoughts about this, that there have been indications that this is coming, which have fed our fears in a lot of cases, which causes us to think about it more, which causes more of it to happen. It's funny how often we prove to ourselves that law of attraction works, but we prove it in negative ways. We prove how if I focus on things I'm afraid of, I get to experience more of those fearful things. A lot of us learn law of attraction that way, and then it's like, oh, I really, really need to control my thoughts. I need to control what I'm focusing on. And as we start to do that, we start to notice things happening differently in our lives. It's just how it works out. Call it coincidence. Call it this is how it works. Call it whatever you want in between. Fact of the matter is, when you spend more time focused on where you're trying to go and where you're trying to get, doors open up, opportunities arise, things happen. When you focus more on fearful things, things you don't want to experience, things you're trying to avoid, you seem to end up with more of that. I don't like angry people. You keep finding angry people. It's like, what's going on? I keep finding this stuff that I'm trying to stay away from. So what happens when you manifest or are thinking about something that you don't necessarily want to put energy towards? Well, change what you're thinking. That's all you got to do. It makes the biggest difference in our manifestation, and that's all you got to do. When we panic and worry about it, you're creating more of that energy. When we let go and go, I just need to change what I'm focused on, boom. You get indications. Things are showing up. The baseball bounced off the side of the wall. You kept talking about how they're going to break a window. It hit the side of your house, but it didn't hit the window. You're getting indications that, look, you're manifesting this fear. Stop. You can say something like, the kids are just outside having fun and playing. It's great. It's good practice. It's good for the kids. They're enjoying themselves. I'm sure everything will work out and be safe and perfect and all that. And besides, I got insurance. Worst case scenario, right? Like, just let go of it. Stop worrying about it. And let the kids play and have fun. And don't be that grumpy old Gus on the front porch going, get off my lawn. Right? Don't be that person. And you will notice that these scary events stop happening. You will notice that this person that you've attracted closer to you that you don't want there will go away when you stop thinking about them, when you start thinking about what it is that you would like to experience, who it is that you would like to show up in your life, who it is that you would like to spend more time with. Shift your focus back to where you would like it to be, and you will find that the thing that you've been creating will start to drift and disappear. It'll kind of evaporate into the ether. And as you keep heading down the path you intend to go down, you'll see more and more wonderful events unfold in that path as well. What we focus on is what we get more of. If you're focusing on something you don't like, change your focus. That's all you got to do. Don't freak out. Don't worry. It's okay. Just change your focus. You'll get there. I promise. It works out beautifully when you keep focusing on where you'd like to go. You can't beat that point up enough, at least in my mind, because so many of us forget that from time to time. Keep that in mind. Hopefully this helps. Dan Radio Style.